In this demo, I will demonstrate how to execute the workflow migration utility to migrate all the customizations from a source to a destination ER system server. Before executing this utility, it is highly recommended to take a database backup to ensure a good restore point. Let's first review the environment before running the utility. Ensure that ER server is licensed and fully functional. I will begin by checking ER system license form. So confirm that ER system is licensed and it is valid. That's a step 1. And the step 2 is you can go to ER system centralized configuration form, go to server settings, and ensure that the max ER system max attached file size is set to 0. So now let's review the groups on the destination. So totally I have 441 groups on my destination ER system server. So now let's review customizations on the destination server using Developer Studio. So this is my destination server, and let's look at custom and overlay. So I have totally 0 customizations. And similarly, you can review other objects before migrating. So now let me show you the customization that I made on the source server for this demo. So here I have totally 79 overlay and custom forms on the source. And the groups, I have totally 211 groups on the source, but I see there are 2 groups added for this demo purpose. Ensure you are using the latest Java version and also have downloaded the latest version of the workflow migration utility from BMC EPD website. Once you extract, you will see the following folder. So you will see various folders like CDM checker, configuration, features, P2 plugins, recon report utility, working directory, and so on. So for this demo, I'm just creating a folder cust eng remedy 06. So that is my source server. So I will be passing this folder to the utility. Now let's proceed with executing the workflow migration utility. So I launch the Windows command prompt and use the following command to execute this utility. This command includes various parameters. So you should start with command Java, and you need to pass certain parameters, including the jar file name and source server name, source server username, source server password, source server port, and then you have to pass destination server host name, destination server username, destination server password, destination server port, and the path where you want to generate the logs, and then parameter migrate. And then here I'm passing parameter 0 and signal false, which means it will execute all steps at once. It will not pause anywhere. It will start with 1, it will migrate groups, then it will migrate CMDB objects, then forms, workflow objects, it will rebuild unions, and then finally it will do auto recon. So let me execute this utility. So now it started with step 1. So migrate permissions. So it completed exporting of groups. So sorry, it is completed migrating groups from source to destination. Now it proceeded to step 2. So while executing this utility, you can go to working folder and go to the logs folder, and you can open this log and you can review the logs. So it completed step 1. Now it moved on to the step 2. So the step 2 is also completed. So now so now I see the utility terminated at step 2. By looking at this error, it says cannot find so and so folder structure. So there is a mismatch in my folder structure. So I fixed that one. So now let's execute this utility. Since it already completed step 1, so I want to start with step 2. So here when you give step 2 and signal false, so what it does is it will start with step 2, then 3, 4, and so on till step 11. So let's proceed with step 2. Okay, so now it proceeded further. I don't see the folder error that I saw before. So now it is migrating all the CMDB objects from source to destination. So step 2 is completed. Now it is proceeding to step 3. Let's look at the logs. So I see step 3. So step 3 just do validate CMDB migration. So it completed step 3 and then it proceeded to step 4. So now it proceeded to step 5. Then next it proceeded with step 6, migrate application and regular form overlays. Then rebuild union without unum. So you may see a lot of information which you can ignore that may be useful for the support in case if you submit a case, they should be able to review this information and they can connect the dots. Then proceeded to step 10, migrating auto-generated objects. Then step 11, validate overlay migration. And then final step is running auto recon and generate the report for manual recon process. Let's review the different files created by the utility for exporting from the source and importing to destination. The first one is all source groups .arx file. This file contains export of all the groups from the source server. So basically the server, what it does is, it will export all the groups from the source and it will create ARX file in this folder. And this will be used for the comparison and, take the difference and then it will migrate to the destination server. Then we have the group.arx. This file contains export of all the groups from the destination server. So utility, what it does is it will first export all the groups from the destination server. It deletes and then it will import all the groups from the source and then it will import these groups back with a merge option. If there is any conflict, utility will automatically handle and it will generate a new group ID or whatever, so that it will not conflict with existing groups. So now let's move on to the CMDB folder. This folder contains various files detailing which classes and attributes have been modified, deleted, or created. It also includes XML files that represents export of class and attributes to migrate from source to destination. For example, changed attributes. So if you look at this file, it will have all the attributes that are modified on the source. And these are the attributes migrated to the destination server. And similarly, changed classes. So there are no modified classes in this. Now let's see the new attributes and new classes. So let me open this new class. So there is one class that was created on the source. And these are the various attributes that are created on the source. So these are the, classes and attributes will be migrated to the destination. So the utility, it will create the definition, the CMDB class and attribute definition in the form of XML file. So we have seen newly added class BMC underscore cloud infra. So it will get the definition from the source and the CMDB driver is used behind the scene to migrate this class definition or attribute definitions based upon what has been changed or modified or created. And similarly, if anything needs to be deleted, it will delete based upon the information. So now let's move on to the next folder, which is a customization folder. This folder holds the definition files generated by the utility from the source server, which are used for migration to the destination server. So for example, uh, overlay regular form. So when you open this, you will see what, all the overlay forms that are migrated to the destination from the source. And similarly, join forms, and similarly, auto-generated objects, audit archive forms, and so on. So now let's move on to asset sync. So again, similarly, the way it did for other objects, there are certain asset forms needs to be synced because of the classes that we added are modified during the CMDB metadata migration. So these are the various def files created by the utility based upon the difference, and this will be imported onto the destination. So the next one is the recon folder. So once all the objects are migrated, so what it does is it will do reconciliation. So if there is any change has been done, part of this upgrade in the base layer, what it does is it will cascade those changes to the overlay layer. So earlier, we need to perform three-way reconciliation for all the objects, which is a tiring process. The reason is some of the objects may not need our manual intervention. So the utility got simplified, and the auto recon job will automatically cascade non-conflicting changes from base to overlay objects. If there is any conflict, such as, for example, if you add a um, menu item or list in the overlay by the user, and if that is occupying the range that was already um, defined in the base, then utility cannot merge. So then that can be handled in the three-way reconciliation process. So if it finds any conflict, so what it does is it will generate an XML file with those list of objects that needs to be reconciled manually. It also generates folder for each object type containing all the base objects from the source server, which are necessary for three-way reconciliation process in the upcoming steps. So for example, if you look at this form, so it will have a list of all the overlay forms with the base object definitions here. And similarly, filters. So there is no overlay filter, so that's the reason it's empty. Escalations, no, there is no customization done, so no. Active links, no. So for this demo purpose, I did just make modification only to the forms, and that's the reason, we see the base objects modified. So when you perform three-way reconciliation using Developer Studio, so you have to copy all these folders and the XML file, and then you can use that for the three-way reconciliation. Let it groups that are migrated during this migration process using the workflow migration utility. So on the source, I created, few groups. So let's search for that and see if that does exist. Yeah. So these are the two groups that I created on my source and that got migrated into the destination. And there are a couple of other groups might have modified, but I'm pretty sure I added these two groups for testing. And similarly, I created a class in CMDB, which is called BMC underscore cloud infra. So it associated in CMDB with the name BMC underscore cloud infra. And then also I can see my regular form, which is a custom form, got migrated. So you can, perform the validation, make sure that all your objects are migrated properly. If you see any object missing, then go back to the logs, do a troubleshooting and see why it failed. So if there is any associated error, you can troubleshoot by enabling API SQL logs. Once you identify, fix it, and then you can rerun the workflow migration utility to bring those objects back. If you're still not able to find out, then you can submit a ticket with BMC support for necessary help. So this concludes the demo.